Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Kabir Verma, and today I'm presenting my research proposal for a qualitative case study focused on emotional labor and workplace stress at the California Department of Rehabilitation, DOR, in Fresno. I chose this topic because I have a deep passion for clinical rehabilitation counseling and because I am a counselor in training at DOR Fresno. The DOR performs vital work by supporting the individuals with disabilities in achieving independence and employment, and I believe it is critical to understand the emotional demands placed on the staff who make this mission possible. Moving on to the next slide. The purpose of this study is to explore the emotional challenges faced by vocational rehabilitation professionals. This matters because the employee well-being directly impacts the quality of service provided to clients. Currently, staff faces a significant problem, that is the intersection of emotional labor, high stress, and potential burnout. In the DOR context, these pressures are often intensified by bureaucratic demands, such as strict policy compliance and performance expectations, which can add significant strain to an already emotionally taxing job. Next slide. My study is guided by three primary research questions, which you can see on the slide itself. But first and foremost is how do emotional labor and exposure to client trauma especially affect the staff at the Fresno district office? Secondly, what specific organizational practices or personal coping strategies are currently helping staff mitigate burnout risks? And how can these insights be used to create better policies and interventions to improve both staff well-being and the delivery of services? So these are the three primary research questions that I came up with. Next slide talks about the study parameters and key terminology. For this study, I will use purposive sampling, which is a qualitative research design, and select 8 to 15 participants from the DOR Fresno office, which includes senior vocational rehabilitation counselors, office technicians, and team managers. To understand their experience, we must look at three key terms that are highlighted in this slide as well. Firstly, we talk about emotional labor, which is the effort of regulating one's own emotion to meet professional expectations. Secondly, there is burnout, which is a state of emotional exhaustion and reduced personal accomplishment. And last but not least, secondary trauma, the emotional impact that comes from being exposed to traumatic stories and experiences of the clients we serve. And yes, I do realize I may have messed up the order in which the terms were defined, but I apologize for that error. Next slide talks more about the literature review. As you can see, the foundations of literature. Existing research, such as the Hochschild research from 1983, shows that surface acting or faking emotions is a major contributor to burnout. The jobs demands resources model by Bakar and Demerotti from 2017 suggests that while high demands increase stress, organizational resources like peer support can buffer these effects. Other key scholars like Maslach, Bride, and Frigley emphasize that without sufficient support, high emotional demands inevitably lead to compassion fatigue and secondary traumatic stress. As we have studied in the DSM class, this could also lead to acute stress disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, depending on the circumstances of the case. And those should be considered into when designing interventions for this policy problem. Next slide talks about the proposed methodology of the project. I am proposing a qualitative case study because it allows for a deep contextual exploration of the lived experiences of counselors, office technicians, and other relevant staff at the Department of Rehabilitation at Fresno. I will collect data through semi-structured interviews, which gives participants the freedom to describe their challenges in their own words. I will also incorporate narrative accounts and observational field notes to provide a complete picture of the situation. Finally, I intend to use a thematic analysis to identify recurring patterns and themes across the interviews so that the interventions that will be ultimately designed can be more nuanced and tailored specifically to the California Department of Rehabilitation at Fresno. Next slide talks about the implications and limitations. The implications of this research are significant. It can lead to better staff training and improved support systems, which ultimately results in better outcomes for the individuals that DOR serves. As you will know, and as we all know, the California Department of Rehabilitation serves individuals with disabilities, which naturally are a marginalized community, and so improving better results and improving outcomes for such a department is particularly vital. However, there are limitations as are covered on this slide because this is a single site study in Fresno. It is a proposed single site study for correction. The findings may not be generalized to all offices across California. Additionally, since this is a proposal, there are insights that are based on my anticipated methodology rather than any actual data collection through interviews or any other in-person data collection activities or efforts. And here are the key references and ethical considerations that should be considered. As you can see, I have mentioned the Hochschild research, the Maslach research, the Bride research, the complete reference is available in the bibliography section of the paper that you can obviously review. One small other as consideration that I should highlight is the ethical preparedness that we should have if this project is implemented, if this research is implemented. And the key considerations in that matter is whether there is voluntary participation in the research that is being conducted. And obviously, if it's voluntary participation, there will always need to be an informed consent mechanism in place. confidentiality has to be secured, and the highest levels of confidentiality must be maintained with this project. And obviously, all the research data collected through interviews and observational techniques and other modalities should be anonymized to preserve PII and other identifying information that that are just consistent with best practices across the world, which was also emphasized in the city's certification that was completed as part of the midterm earlier this semester. And obviously, if this research ultimately is sanctioned, then it will need to have the approval of the IRB prior to the recruitment and actual implementation of the research. Thank you. That was my presentation. This is Kabir Verma signing off. Thanks.